Hey guys, happy Saturday. I thought I'd pop in here for a second and just explain a little bit about ABC structures. I talk about ABC structures because that's the only way that I trade. I learned this from a trader who makes tens of millions of dollars a year and has done so for about 30 years now. It's the only way that I trade. And it came from a guy, H.M. Gartley, I believe his name was, back in the early 1900s, came up with this. You can Google it or AI it to kind of see the history of this methodology. But it works without fail almost, as much as certainty can be in the stock market, and it's incredible. So I'm going to use Google as an example and kind of walk you through how we came up with a 270 price target. Is what we talked about, or about 270. I tend to round off numbers. But what you do is you identify the swing points, and we knew back here we're waiting for this since May, right? Now there are ABC structures up here since May, but on the weekly, this is kind of what the structure was, right? So you kind of look here and you say, okay, you take your swing high, wherever that is, right? In this case, it's 208.70. You subtract the low, which is the 142.66. You take that number and you add it to this number, the high here, the 208.70. It takes you to 266 something, right? Now I just rounded off to 270. And so you can do this on any swing point, provided, and this is the key, provided that it has more volume. This doesn't work on every swing point. It has to have more volume. The volume here is 138 million, right? And so we were prodding. It's confirmed here when we broke out on 100 and that's not it. 159 million. The break right here on volume is when we knew for sure it was going to the 269, 270 area, right? And I mentioned you can do this in any time frame, and we just picked Google as an example. But if you go back and let's see if we can find another time frame. If you go back and kind of look and say, well, oh, here's one right here, right? So if you're back here on the 23rd and you kind of looked at this, you'd look at the swing high here because you're looking for breakout on volume. You would take this swing high, right? And this is the 178, let's just say 179 because this is 178.72. Just give me a second here. I'm going to calculate it out. So this is the 179 minus the low, like I mentioned earlier. So minus the low here, which is 163 minus 163. Whoops. 179 minus 163 gives you 16 points. So then you add 16 points to that number right here, which is the 179, right? Plus 179 gives you a projected price target of $195. So here, once this broke on volume, you knew it was going to go to 195, right? So this is a confirmed trade. So it takes, what is this, a couple of weeks maybe? I don't know, a couple of days, weeks. And then it goes up here and hits hits it perfectly, right? Hits the 195. So you see here the bar of the 195.98. And then you would be out. You'd be out before you got to that point. Now, why would you be out? Because you notice that it spiked that high, the 195 price target that we talked about, and then it did something else. It rejected. So on this 2-hour chart, you notice then it consolidated, boom, 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 for a couple of weeks before it started to set up again. So the lesson here is you can use ABC structures on any time frame, but you want to take the money whenever it hits your projected price target, which in this case was the 195. I usually take it off 80-90% when I get close before it gets there. But because once it hits the 195 area, it's going to do something else or just consolidate. And even if it's just consolidating, you don't want to hold a stock through here. It's just choppy, sloppy, messy. You want to wait for the next setup. So that's just a short video to say, hey, you can do this in the weekly. We use the weekly because we trade the weekly because it's more confirmation, wider perspective and bigger view. But you can actually do this in any time frame. So you can make a lot of money doing this. And I hope this helps. I'd encourage you to do some research. Look up H.M. Gartley and ABC structures, and you can learn a little bit about that. But this is the only way we trade, and we do that with volume as confirmation. So hope that helps. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.